Today on Keep Classical Weird, we fired up all these video gadgets to watch me learn how to play percussion. And then I think in order to get these aligned later, that wasn't loud at all. You should hit the snare drum.
Understood. I can hit the snare drum if you would like me to.
Perfect. Welcome, friends, to episode 69 of Keep Classical Weird. I am your host, Casey Vozell, and today's episode was recorded a little over a year ago. I got in contact with our good friend of the pod, Gordon Rencher, and basically took a snare drum lesson to learn how to play the snare line of Ravel's Bolero. I mean, really, how hard could it be? Now, longtime listeners may remember that we discussed Bolero way back in episode 6, but I wanted to take a bigger dive into what is required of this absolutely pivotal position in the orchestra. I'll take a second here to also put in a plug that while I like how this episode turned out very much on an audio format, you can actually see me struggle with this on our YouTube page. Be sure to subscribe to the pod there, as more episodes will come out. And now, my friends, Bolero. All right, let's talk Bolero.
Okay.
So, do you know approximately how many times you've actually done the snare drum part in Bolero?
I've done the principal snare drum part 3 or 4 times. Okay. I'm not positive.
Is there more than one snare drum part?
There is.
Okay.
Yeah, about 2/3 of the way through, a second snare drummer enters.
Okay.
And,
yeah. Okay, so enough that you've had some experiences with it.
I have.
What are some of the, how do I want to ask this? What are some of the challenges in learning this part?
It's always challenging to play soft on snare drum because we're controlling a motion with the tip of the stick that's maybe less than an inch.
Sure.
And then we have to do that not just for a measure or two, but we have to do it probably for 5 minutes.
Right.
Before it gets louder. So that's very challenging. And then while we're doing that, other instrumentalists are playing exactly the same rhythm as we are, but they're 20 feet away or 30 feet away, and they're not trying nearly as hard as we are to keep a really steady rhythm. So that makes it that makes it challenging too.
That was a really tiny way of just telling everybody that in an orchestra, like how dependent everybody else is on the percussionists to actually keep an internal beat. Because you're totally right. I don't do that when I play this piece.
Yeah. Yeah, you're letting somebody else do it. And that's fine. That's what we do. And the nature of our sound is very articulate, so it makes sense, but it's still very challenging. And the distance is challenging too, because there's a slight time delay to my sound to get to somebody else, and then the same slight time delay for that sound to get back, and you can feel it from behind a snare drum.
I'm certain you can. Well, that's another question I wanted to ask you is I've done this piece with the snare drums back in the percussion section traditionally, and then I've done it with the snare drum kind of like right in the center of the orchestra, and yeah.
That's easier probably, although I've never played it like that.
Okay.
I've known that's done, but I've never been in that situation.
So your experience has always been playing it from
the back.
From the back, the traditional kind of snare drum position. Okay. Can you, thinking about the times that you've played it and performed it, can you think of maybe some of the like internal monologues, internal dialogues, I don't know, that you've had to have with yourself as you progress through?
The first time I played it, it's a 2-measure pattern. And after you've played this 2-measure pattern for 10 minutes and you still have 5 minutes to go, you start to play mind games with yourself, and I found myself thinking, did I just play the first measure of the pattern, or did I just play the second measure of the pattern? And not really being sure.
Wow.
And I did not have that problem on subsequent performances. I solved it. But the first time, I wasn't prepared for that issue.
I bet so that you had a little bit of like an anxiety moment of like, am I actually on the measure that I mean to be on?
Yeah.
Because I would imagine everybody can tell if you make a little whoopsie in this piece.
Yeah, of course. Especially 10 minutes in, because by then you're playing fairly loudly. There's nothing subtle about it at all.
Right.
It's like, if your concentration goes, and it's all over.
Do you find it easier or harder to continue when the second snare drum comes in?
Well, much easier. Much easier.
You get like a second, like an influx of...
Right. And honestly, the first 5 minutes is the hard part. If you make it through the first 5 minutes, other than that issue, you're probably going to be fine.
Okay.
For the rest of it, because after the first 5 minutes, you're getting a little louder and you're getting more into your comfort zone.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And you found in subsequent performances that once you kind of find the groove, you're able to keep your concentration and keep your momentum and inertia going forward at a pretty good clip. Okay.
Yeah.
That's fascinating and terrifying for me to picture.
And my trick, and this is very musically specific, but my trick for myself, how I solve that problem is I think of this in 6/4, not in 3/4. And so rather than thinking of it as two measures of 3/4, I think of it as one measure of 6/4, and then the idea of which measure did I just play is
that makes sense. Because then you're counting to 6.
I'm counting to 6.
Instead of counting to 3 over and over again.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. That's a simple solution.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. All of these little things that you have to worry about that I don't from my part.
And the other thing that I didn't do the first time that I have done on subsequent times is I will play through the entire piece with a recording.
Really?
Before I ever get to the first rehearsal.
Do you do that with other pieces?
No.
Typically? Okay, it's just this piece. How does that help you?
It just sort of gets me into that long game kind of mental state that I'm just going to do this and I'm going to keep doing it, and it's a concentration game.
Right.
But concentration can be practiced and can be learned, and so that's why I do it.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So you had mentioned it's just really hard to play soft on a snare because of the little momentum. Also, probably the fact that it's a drum.
Drums aren't designed to be soft,
right.
and to be fair, all those of us that have done this have played a snare drum for a long time, and 95% of the time we've been playing snare drum, we've been playing mezzo forte and above, and so now we have to play pianissimo and a lot of it, and so that makes it extra challenging.
Wow.
It's unfamiliar territory. And of course, a professional player would spend a lot of time practicing soft, but it still doesn't compare to the amount of time we've spent playing loud.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so my goal in life is to always be prepared to step in at the last minute at any moment for anything, and so this seems like something where if there isn't a snare drum player available to do it, I want to be available to do it. So you got to teach me how to do it.
Okay.
Although everything you just said makes me a little more nervous to do it, but
have you ever played a snare drum before?
I think maybe I've done this twice, ever.
First thing I want to do is I'm not going to tell you how to hold the sticks. I'm just going to hold them out there and tell you to grab onto them, and I want to see what you do.
Okay.
Because I'm not going to fix a problem if there's not a problem
okay.
I want it to be fixed. Okay, that's pretty good. You're right-handed or left-handed?
I'm right-handed.
Okay, and I'm going to find out in about 30 seconds.
I'm sure.
I like where your thumb is.
Okay.
It's sort of in line with the stick.
Okay.
Can you do the same thing in your left hand?
Oh, like just done that way. Okay.
Exactly. Now I'm gonna turn your hands so your hands are sort of more flat. Relax your shoulders.
That's right.
Okay.
That's a thing.
Yeah, let's come down about like that. That looks great.
Okay.
That looks great.
All right.
Walk over here.
So afraid.
Right
All right, relax the shoulders. Okay. Yeah. Ta-da! All right, I made it to the snare drum.
You're actually far back on the stick, so scoot your hand up. There you go. So you have about 1 inch of drumstick coming out of the
Oh, that's more of like a balance point, too.
Yeah.
I feel lighter when I do that. Okay.
Exactly. And here I do. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so that looks great. Now, before you play a Bolero rhythm out here, there's a very basic snare drum warm-up just called 8 on a hand. It's very common, and it's just 1/4/4 measure of eighth notes that you would play your right hand 8 times and then your left hand 8 times.
Okay.
And just maybe go back and forth 2 times. Try doing that.
Okay. I have so many questions already.
Okay.
Should I just go for it, or should I ask?
Just go for it.
And see what happens. All right.
Yeah. That's great. That's awesome.
Yay!
Try going a little faster.
Okay.
Maybe 1 and 2 and 3. Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah.
I discovered this.
Right. The only way you can hit the rim is to bend down here at the elbow.
Okay.
So if you're hitting the rim, you
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that won't do it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Excellent.
Okay.
You're not as even.
Welcome. Well, right. It's your left hand.
Right. Would you have known that once that you're like, oh yeah, obviously she's right-handed.
Yeah.
Like you. Yeah.
Okay. I would have known, but I will tell you off the bat, and I think this is because you're used to holding a bow.
Right.
That you're not too tense.
That's
and
good.
It's very common for a beginner to just literally hold the sticks too tight.
Sure, that makes sense.
And I can hear that, and you're not doing it.
Okay. All right. Obstacle 1 down.
Right? Yeah.
Yes.
And that's a big obstacle.
Am I close enough to the snare drum?
That's kind of up to you. You could walk a couple of inches closer. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
where did
and
you
I'm
feel?
still going to tell you to lower your hand. Yeah.
Oh, like here?
Isn't
Okay.
that more comfortable?
Yes.
Yeah.
It is, but now this has freaked me out, so I gotta.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't worry about that.
Okay.
I don't think.
Oh, okay.
I don't think you'll really hit the rim.
All right.
In contact.
Okay. Gotcha.
So now at a normal dynamic, mezzo
Yes.
forte, mezzo piano, whatever, without thinking about the dynamic.
Yes.
Can you play Bolero right now?
All right. Let's see. This is what anxiety dreams are made of.
Right.
Right here. Okay. So.
Okay. Now you played your right hand on the first note. You played your right hand again on the second note.
I did.
And what that did is it took your left hand and you ended up on beat 2 and beat 3 with your weak hand. And so I'm going to ask you to just alternate right, left, right. So your right
the
hand,
whole time.
Your right hand stays on the beat.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay.
That's it. There are some players who will play a double right at the 8th note. Right.
Just to keep using their right hand.
Yeah, to keep their right hand on that 8th note pulse and to make a more consistent sound. If I teach somebody that's between the ages of 12 and say 17,
yeah,
I really encourage them to play right hand to left hand to right hand to left hand.
Okay.
Beyond that age, I stop encouraging that because I certainly don't play that way.
How do you play?
I will favor my right hand a lot because if I'm playing, somebody's paying me to be as dynamically consistent as I possibly can be.
So you use your strengths.
As metrically consistent as I can. I'm not trying to develop my weak left hand.
Right.
Whereas somebody, a beginner or a novice they need to develop their left hand.
Okay.
I need to practice my left hand, but that's not the same thing.
It's not. Got it. Okay. But so you'll encourage just. Do you ever make people start with their weak hand just to develop that?
Absolutely.
That's gonna be terrible. I'm gonna do it. Okay. Wait.
Okay.
I have to think about that really hard, actually. Oh no. That sounded a little gallopy, didn't it?
It did sound a little bit gallop.
Okay.
It did. And that's going to be very hard for you to get over in one lesson.
That's fair.
You can go back to being right-handed.
Okay.
That's how you would actually play it. It's a little slow. You probably want
to
see what happens if you're a little faster.
That's my big weakness. This is why I would not make a good percussionist at all, is because you know how some people are tone deaf? I think I'm tempo deaf.
Okay.
Like everything sounds like 82. It doesn't matter how slow or fast.
Should we try with a metronome?
Let me try it a little faster
Okay.
first, and then you can see if I can actually do it. Okay.
reasonable tempo.
Okay.
Some conductors might go a little slower. Some would go maybe faster than that, but you're in the ballpark.
Okay.
Yeah.
I also notice, because this is the first lesson that I'm staring at the snare drum, you probably have to be a little bit more aware of your surroundings than that in context.
I actually think, as a student, I think it's a good idea to look down and watch your steps.
Yeah, just to make sure you know what they're doing.
Yeah, and the more connection you have between your hands and your brain, the better.
Okay.
The conductor's not going to like it.
When you're
not looking at him or her. Yeah, making eye contact.
Okay.
And of course, you have to, when you start the piece,
you have to be watching the conductor.
You have to be watching the conductor.
So, and that's the start of the piece that's the most difficult, too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
That's where I really don't want to watch the conductor.
No.
But I have to watch the beginning.
Okay, so did I hit a mezzo forte? Is it about there?
It's all relative. It depends on the orchestra. It depends on the room.
Okay.
I mean, for a room this size,
yeah.
I think your dynamic is fine.
Okay.
You could try it a little louder first and see if you find that easier or harder.
Oh, that's a good idea. Okay. Oh, no.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I discovered a whole bunch there.
Right, so you play it 2 or 3 times, and it's like, well, that was different, and that was different.
Yes. Yeah. And you do that. Have you ever actually counted up the repetitions?
No.
In this piece? Okay.
I never have.
I'll have to do it. I won't even tell you unless you want to know. But
and when you get to the 9 notes in a row, it does get a little tense. I can hear you holding your left hand a little tighter than you're holding your right hand.
When I get to the
when you
the
get
9.
to
Oh.
When you get to that point.
So I just need to relax all the way through.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I can do that. Except I got slower.
I think that was a little slower than last time.
Okay,
right.
One more time. All right.
Okay.
Yeah?
Not bad for the first time out. Now, I'm going to let you sneak forward to about here on the drums.
Oh, that's really forward.
Rather than playing center, and now try to play half that volume.
Okay. One more time.
All right, okay.
All right. Maintaining the even.
Yeah.
The even.
And you might, now you can scoot your hand back the stick a little bit. You may have overcompensated.
Okay.
Yeah, there. Try that.
Okay, all right.
See how that feels.
It's so hard.
It's very hard.
I can feel it. I can feel it rebound a lot easier since I'm closer to the.
Well, it's yes. The head, the tension on the head as you get closer to the rim, the tension is the head's a little tighter up there. So
Okay.
it's going to feel a little bit different. Now, probably one thing you're noticing is if you're playing mezzo forte, and you're moving the tip of the stick this far.
Yes.
If you're a little uneven from your right to your left, let's say one hand doesn't come up exactly the same. By percentage, it's not really very different.
Mm-hmm.
It might be a half an inch different, but a half an inch out of 6 or 7 inches is not that big of a deal. When you're making a 1 inch motion, and now you're a half inch different, that's very obvious.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's 50% of your stroke is higher or lower, so that's kind of what you're hearing.
So every weakness that you have is magnified.
Yes.
The softer you get.
Yeah.
That's so scary.
And you're still not you're still not soft enough.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
For the beginning of the piece.
Okay, let's find that soft.
Okay. Let's go back to 8 on a hand now that you started with.
Okay.
So don't even try Bolero yet. Just try playing straight 8th notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And now you can get up even closer to the edge. Yeah. And so you want to just try 8th notes and see if you can make 8th notes all sound the same.
Okay.
Right hand to left hand.
My left hand short circuits. Is that a problem you have?
Um,
Professionally speaking?
My left hand is definitely my weak hand. I've been playing drums for 50 years, and I practice my left hand more than my right.
Because you know that has to
And
develop.
my left hand can do what it needs to do, but I can still tell you it doesn't feel as comfortable as what my right.
Wow. Okay. All right.
So now go ahead and
Fascinating.
let's now really play Bolero.
Okay.
And play it right up here near the edge.
Okay.
And play it as soft as you can.
Okay.
Let's go for pianissimo.
Would you give me a tempo?
I will, and I'm also going to suggest that you start with both sticks on the head.
Oh, start on. Oh, that's often like violinists have to do that too. If we're going to play off the string, we start from the string.
Okay, interesting.
So, but when you.
Yeah. So the first motion I have to make is a lifting motion.
Okay.
But that's okay.
Okay. Okay. All right. That makes sense.
So you want a tempo.
I didn't mean to not play that.
Right?
Oh, wow. Yeah, immediately. Like, I got one measure and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's like conceivably Bolero. And then your brain immediately focuses on everything else.
Yes, and you have to stay. You have to stay
so present.
You have to stay focused on everything you have to do to make your sound constant and not speed up and not slow down. And,
Wow.
And and the flute player who has the first melodic entrance may emote.
Right.
Right? They don't have to stay in strict tempo.
But I do.
You do. You have to ignore. So if you hear them sitting back on the tempo or moving forward on the tempo, you have to just be laser focused and not change your tempo.
That sounds so hard because it's a collaborative art.
Yeah, not this piece.
except for this right here. Okay.
Well, you're providing the steady beat which they move ahead and behind, and so if you move with them,
right.
That's not going to sound.
No, that's true. They're depending on you.
Little note, Gordon then went here to grab his phone so I could actually try this with an orchestra. It's the next best option to actually getting my orchestral friends together to try it out.
Okay.
Oh, Dudamel, Vienna, why not?
Can't argue with Dudamel.
Now, you're not going to... Let's see how he starts.
Okay.
This is something you can even pick up on, and if the camera shows him. I'm going to grab a music stand in a minute, too.
Okay.
Okay, hang on a minute.
Okay.
That's a very forgiving tempo.
Yeah.
This is one of the slowest versions
That's really slow,
I've
actually.
ever heard. So...
As a violinist, I would hear that and be like, oh.
Right? As a snare drummer, I might feel the same way.
I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm just...
All right, you're putting the maestro right in front of me.
yeah, so you can watch.
Okay.
Let's see. No, come on. There. And let's...
All right, starting with my things on the, okay. Forgot.
get louder yet.
Oh no.
You're 5 minutes away from getting louder.
Okay.
It's up to you if you keep going.
One more.
Okay.
Whew. It's, you know what it felt like in the middle of that?
Stop.
After this clarinetist.
Okay.
You know what it felt like in the middle of that is when you say a word over and over again and all of a sudden it doesn't sound like a word anymore.
Yeah, right.
Like that repetition just didn't sound like what I was doing anymore. And finding my way back to that was crazy.
Yeah.
And that was, what, like a minute? That was 2 minutes maybe?
Yeah, maybe 90 seconds. I'm not sure.
Of the
Yeah.
15 minutes that you have to go through, while you then increase it and then get louder.
Now you said during the first phrase you said
Yeah.
I forgot. What did you forget? You stopped and said I forgot.
I forgot what measure I was on. I
Right.
did exactly what you said.
Okay.
I forgot if I was on the first or the second.
The second measure. Well, yeah. To me that was about 12 minutes in when that happened. But right, that's the thing.
Wow.
That's the thing.
Okay, so for posterity, I can cut this out if you want. But would you play?
Yeah, I'll give it a try. Yeah. No.
You don't have to play it with Dudamel. You can play it with whatever. Actually, I'm gonna
and I haven't.
here so that I can see it.
I should have been prepared for this. I should have
Sorry.
warmed up and tried this a little bit, but let's give it a go. I probably will play a little faster.
Sure.
Because that's a slower tempo than I think I've
It seemed really
ever played
close.
it.
So yeah.
And
Oh, okay.
Had that been an audition, I would have lost.
Okay.
That
Why?
That wasn't even enough.
It wasn't enough piano? It wasn't enough like soft or?
My right hand and my left hand were not consistently enough the same volume.
Oh, it wasn't even enough. Okay,
even,
I see.
Even the right hand to left hand, some notes stood out of the texture, some notes dropped out of the texture a little bit. Yeah, I had that been an orchestral audition.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next. Yeah, that wouldn't have done it.
Wow. Okay. So yeah, you're really just going for. So it's.
Right, like a lake, a mountain lake at 6 a.m. when it just looks like glass.
Wow.
And you want the rhythmic equivalent of that.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. There's so many parallels to string playing that I see here too. Like it's, I would think you would train to have the facility for being able to play any line with any stick, either stick at any time, and have it sound totally uniform. And there's a lot of like etudes that train us so that we can go any direction with our bow and any part of our bow and have it sound
Right.
any way we want. So it's just training your technical facility over the entire instrument.
Yeah, and that's certainly what you want is very consistent.
Wow. Well, I think the conclusion that I can come to is that if you need a backup Bolero player, make sure you check with everyone else.
And that's our show for today. My deepest thanks to Gordon Rencher for his excellent tutelage and crazy amount of patience. Our theme song is composed by not dead composer Thomas Barber. Check out more of his stuff at thomasbarber.com. Web development support is provided by Tina at City Beautiful Design. Keep Classical Weird is created and edited by me, Casey Bozell. Be sure to find us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and subscribe to our YouTube page at Keep Classical Weird. Thank you so much for downloading, and I'll see you soon. Stay safe and stay weird.